right, good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get started. Thank you to our loyal friends and partners. My name is Joy Cawthorn, and I serve as the Chief Development Officer for the Southeastern Pennsylvania region of the American Red Cross. Thank you, Marianne, for that picture. I think we're going to just drop the slide for a moment as I do some introductions, if you don't mind. Okay. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to our first spring virtual speaker series entitled Women Making a Difference in Local Communities, Tiffany Circle. This presentation will share how women in the American Red Cross are making an impact across the United States and how you can make an impact in our local community. But before we begin, I would like to share a few participant tips with you. This presentation is being recorded, so we ask that you please stay on mute to reduce echoes and background noise. If you hear an echo, we ask that you please lower your volume slightly. To keep our presentation within the allotted time, we will not have a live question and answer session. So I encourage you to email or call your Red Cross contact that invited you to today's event with any questions or requests for more information. All right, so I am excited to introduce to you our presenters for today, Jill Coyle and Karen Teller. Jill Coyle resides in both New York and Connecticut. She first began volunteering with the British Red Cross in London, and then in 2006 began with the American Red Cross of Metro New York. She currently serves as Vice Chair of the Red Cross Board of Directors for both Greater New York and Metro New York North. She also is the co-chair of the Tiffany Circle Northeast Division, chairs the Red Cross Tiffany Circle for the Greater New York region, and serves on the Red Cross Tiffany Circle National Council. She has chaired the New York Red and White Ball, as well as the 2019 Red Cross Global Women's Leadership Summit in Washington, D.C. Karen Teller, she lives in Massachusetts. She began volunteering with the American Red Cross over 10 years ago by joining the Tiffany Circle. She is a current board member of the American Red Cross of Massachusetts and is the co-chair of the Tiffany Circle Northeast Division. She also is the past chair of the Tiffany Circle National Council and has co-chaired 2 Tiffany Circle summits. So without further ado, I will now turn it over to Jill.
Thank you, Joy, for that kind introduction. Welcome, everyone. As Joy said, my name is Jill Coyle. I'm a proud American Red Cross board member and volunteer in the Greater New York area. I also serve on the Red Cross National Council of Women Leaders, known as the Tiffany Circle National Council. And as Joy said, along with my co-chair, Karen Teller in Boston, lead the Northeast Division for the Red Cross Tiffany Circle, which spans from Maine through to Pennsylvania, where most of you are from. So, what is Tiffany Circle? Tiffany Circle is a way for the American Red Cross to recognize and engage women donors who have an interest in having a greater understanding of the mission of the Red Cross and the impact of their philanthropic dollars. It's a community of women leaders who advance the American Red Cross mission through a focused investment of time, talent, and treasure by engaging women locally, nationally, and internationally, which we'll talk about in a bit. Frankly, it's a wonderful way to feel more connected to your giving, and I would certainly encourage you to consider being a part of the Tiffany Circle if you aren't already. So Tiffany Circle, just to start, Tiffany Circle takes its name from the historic stained glass windows in the Board of Governors Hall at Red Cross National Headquarters in Washington, D.C. Installed in 1917, the windows were commissioned from the Louis Comfort Tiffany Studios, so not to be confused with Tiffany the jeweler. The windows were jointly purchased by the Women's Relief Corps of the North and the United Daughters of the Confederacy of the South as an act of reconciliation and hope. So a wonderful women's leadership moment, which made it seem like the perfect name for Tiffany Circle. Okay, so let's take a look at impact and engagement of Tiffany Circle nationally. So nationally, in America, there are over 1,000 Tiffany Circle members. Last year alone, they gave over $12 million to the Red Cross mission. And over the course of the Tiffany Circle lifetime, which is a little over 10 years, that represents $120 million in donations to the Red Cross, which makes the Tiffany Circle the largest donative body to the Red Cross. These women are very active in the Red Cross. Many of them serve on Red Cross boards. And for those of you familiar with recording your volunteer hours in Red Cross Connection, many of them spend lots of time volunteering for the Red Cross. Next slide, please. Okay. So, I think one of the truly unique ways the Red Cross Tiffany Circle allows one to be further engaged, re-enthused in your support of, and certainly educated in the Red Cross mission, is by the invitation to attend the Global Women's Leadership Summit held in Washington, D.C. every other year. So the last Women's Leadership Summit was in 2019, pre-pandemic, fall of 2019. And as Joy mentioned, I chaired the last one in 2019. So the summit is really, it's a 2.5-day event intended to really immerse people in the mission of the Red Cross and educate them on the Red Cross with various sessions, breakout sessions, gatherings. And so as a result, we decided in 2019 to brand that particular summit as Mission Immersion 360. And as you can see from our branding logo there, the whole idea was to really not only take sort of a broad breadth view of all of the mission of the Red Cross and each of the 5 service lines of the Red Cross, but also do some deep dives and to give people sort of hands-on experience where possible with some of these different areas. So the 5 mission lines of the American Red Cross, which I'm sure many of you know, are here we have it represented by the 5 logos, the 5 different icons below the Mission Immersion 360 logo. So the first one being an emergency response vehicle, and the idea with that was to highlight disaster response services. So thank you. So disaster response services, we had various sessions for that, one of my favorite of which was the head of all of disaster response services for the American Red Cross, Brad Kaiserman, who is a fantastic dynamic speaker. And when you hear him, it really re-engages your enthusiasm and confidence that the Red Cross does amazing work responding to these disasters. So Brad Kaiserman, for example, was formerly in FEMA, the military, Homeland Security. He's really the right person for the job, and he's been doing this for the Red Cross for a little over 5 years now. And he's incredible. So that was a fantastic session. The next icon is meant to indicate blood services, which actually I have something interesting to tell regarding that related to Pennsylvania. So I'm going to save that one for a second. The next one is service to the armed forces, the next service line of the Red Cross. And service to the armed forces, we had lots of really interesting sessions, and some of our sessions throughout the course of the 2.5 days are all attendee sessions, and then others are more intimate breakout sessions that you can choose to attend. And one of the more intimate being sort of, I guess we had probably about 50 people in that session, in the service that focused on service to the armed forces. We actually built medevac bags. We took medevac bags and filled them with supplies, and then delivered those to Walter Reed Hospital in Washington, D.C. To deliver to the returning wounded soldiers. So that's something that the American Red Cross does. And then the next one is meant to indicate education and training. We had one of our breakout sessions had an actual CPR renewal class that you could do, which was great and people really enjoyed. And then the final component of the American Red Cross mission is focusing on international. And so we had some incredible sessions for international. Actually, that photo on the lower left on your screen was me speaking at a breakfast we had, followed by a really interesting panel discussion focused on international humanitarian law, which was fascinating. And we had a great panel for that. The other thing that we often have at the summit, and again, it's such a great way to sort of really understand the breadth of the Red Cross, but we often have a few celebrities that join us to talk about their engagement and experience with the Red Cross. So that middle picture I actually brought a few of my friends to join in some of the sessions. So the two women on the left, that's Ashley Banfield and Dana Bash, who as national broadcast journalists helped us by moderating a few of the panels, which was really interesting. And obviously they're complete professionals, so that was great. And then on the other side of me in the red dress there is Barbara Pierce Bush, and she spoke about her global health initiative and how that has sort of tied in with Red Cross blood services and blood donation services and immunizations. And so that was really fascinating to hear. And then that final group picture on the bottom there shows the whole group assembled in front of the Red Cross National Headquarters. So really people come to this summit from all over America. They come from all over the world because there are Tiffany Circle members internationally as well. So it's really just such a unique time to be able to come and really dive into the Red Cross. On the right there was our invitation for the event. And I think this is interesting just because, again, you can see some of the speakers highlighted there, and the first picture on the left there being Bonnie McElveen Hunter, who's the board chair for the Red Cross. So she spoke. It's just so interesting to get all of the different perspectives that sort of make up the Red Cross. And then that second photo, of course, is Gail McGovern, who is the CEO and president of the Red Cross. And honestly, if you attend nothing at the summit, but the one session where she speaks every time the summit happens, she gives sort of a state of the Red Cross. It's the most fascinating, and it makes the whole experience worthwhile because it's just so interesting to hear her perspective on what the Red Cross is doing, what it's handled over the previous years, what it's handling currently, what its goals are for the future, and how it plans to address any challenges. Of course, the one time my dog barks all day is right now when I'm speaking. And then the next photo is Barbara Pierce Bush. And then those two photos on the right-hand side are the speakers that are the journalists that I spoke about. The photo third from the right is actually, again, one of my most favorite speeches, and this relates to service to the armed forces. So we had a gala dinner on the second night that we named Salute to the Armed Forces, and we had many military in attendance at that. And so this speaker there, again, third from the right, is retired Admiral Michelle Howard. She was so fantastic. She's super dynamic. She is 5'0" and just has so much energy. And she spoke about how much she appreciated the Red Cross and its work with our armed services and her connection there. And I just love the concept of this itty bitty woman being an admiral in the Navy and, commandeering these giant warships with thousands of soldiers and servicemen on it. So I loved that aspect of it. Anyway, I can't speak highly enough about the summit. So I just wanted to sort of point that out for just a unique opportunity. And then, as I said, this is where I think it would be interesting to all of you in Pennsylvania. As I mentioned, at one of our sessions at the DC Summit dedicated to Red Cross Biomed Services, we featured a session with speaker Dr. Charlene Drew Jarvis. And Dr. Jarvis spoke about her famous father, Dr. Charles Drew, and his pioneering research resulting in the creation of the first blood mobile and the first blood banks. At that event, we raised over $620,000 for the American Rare Blood Donor Program, allowing the purchase of a blood analyzer machine, which is particularly helpful in type matching rare blood types like sickle cell. The machine is called the Neo Iris, and it actually resides now in Philadelphia, which I thought would be of particular interest to all of you Pennsylvanians on the call. Next slide, please. So then just to give you a little taste of some of the international aspect and engagement and impact of the Tiffany Circle. So in 2018, there was an international forum in Geneva, Switzerland that I attended, which they called at the time Humanity Beyond Borders. It was also a 2-day session that attendees came from the American Red Cross and all international Tiffany Circle societies. It was a 2-day session, first day hosted by the International Committee of the Red Cross. That's the sort of branch of the Red Cross, the original founding of the Red Cross, which responds to areas of conflict. And in fact, within that group, they deal with international humanitarian law. So some of the folks that participated in that forum from the International Committee of the Red Cross so nicely when I asked them, came and helped me with the 2019 summit when I chaired that and spoke to that. So I think people really enjoyed that. And then the second day was hosted by the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. And the International Federation of the Red Cross, Red Crescent Societies is the governing body for all Tiffany circles around, or I'm sorry, for all Red Cross country societies. Hello. All Red Cross societies around the world. So the Secretary General of the International Federation of the Red Cross spoke at that. And again, he's another one that I asked, and he very kindly agreed to come, and he spoke at the 2019 summit. So that was fantastic. So all of these obviously are very much in-person events that have happened over the last few years. And, you know, God willing, we'll be back to in-person events in the coming years. But we certainly have pivoted like everyone and have created quite a few conversation series like these. And I know in New York, I've used a lot of the speakers we've had at some of these other global and national events to come speak at our virtual events. But so that's sort of a taste of national and international Tiffany Circle experiences. And I will now turn it over to Karen, who will talk a little more about the Northeast Division specifically. Karen.
Thank you, Jill. And gosh, what a great overview of Tiffany Circle nationally and internationally. And while I didn't attend the Geneva Summit, I did attend one in London a few years before, and it was just a wonderful way to meet women all across the world and what they're involved in, which can be very different than what we are in America. So it was a fascinating summit. And Joy, thank you for your kind introduction. And Joy and I were on a call last week and realized that we both grew up pretty close to each other. I'm from Aston, Pennsylvania, Delaware County, for those of you on the call that know that area. And I went to Widener University undergrad. So I miss cheesesteaks, hoagies, and pretzels every day. And I'll be back soon to have some. So as Jill mentioned, the Northeast Division is quite large. This is the division as it stands right now, as the Red Cross has outlined it. So Southeastern Pennsylvania all the way up to Vermont, New Hampshire. We do have Tiffany circles in most of all those regions except for Southeastern Pennsylvania. That's coming soon, I hear. So welcome to the Tiffany Circle group. Next slide, please. I'm going to just share, as Jill mentioned, a glimpse into what the impact is first, and then events too. So just last year alone, well, first of all, we have 91 members in our division, and we're looking to grow that. I would love that to be, we are one of the smaller Tiffany Circle divisions. I'm not sure why geographically in numbers, but we have a lot of opportunity to grow. Connecticut members have been raising funds for a new bloodmobile. The Greater New York region has been on a campaign to renovate the Greenwich Blood Donation Center, which is located in the Metro New York North chapter. And in Massachusetts, where I reside, as Joyce shared with you, we actually bought a bloodmobile. We had, as Jill mentioned, since we had to pivot to mostly virtual events, we had a happy hour 1 or 2 nights in the summer, and we decided as a group, our region needed a bloodmobile, so we all donated some money and we bought one. And so that one that you see on the bottom right photo is now going to have our Tiffany Circle logo on it, soon to be delivered. And New Jersey members, they have been very active. We have somebody from New Jersey on tonight, Janet, and she and her group have been doing a lot of blood drives. In fact, they've run, since they started in April, they've run 16 blood drives. That's just amazing. So thank you, New Jersey. Next slide, please. And so Jill mentioned speaker series. These are going on all around the country, and just to share some ideas about the themes that we've had. Diversity and inclusion, very important. We're looking at diversifying to support the communities we serve. We had one recently on sickle cell and blood. We've had a book club one night with Jane Healy. She wrote a book called Beantown Girls. It's historical fiction, and I think she's up to like 6 different Tiffany Circle regions have had her on for an hour, and she does a great job explaining her book and the research. We've had a session on mental health A lot of people don't know what Red Cross does and the volunteers in our mental health mission. So a lot of great speakers series. On blood drives, we have one in Boston on Friday, sponsored by Tiffany Circle. And what the women do, they secure a location, they market it to friends and family, they do volunteer check-ins, and they also donate blood. So these are happening all around the country, certainly in the Northeast. And the one I'm most passionate about is Team Red Cross. So Chicago, New York, and Boston marathons have Red Cross runners. I don't think Philadelphia does, but the majors all have Red Cross teams. I started the Team Red Cross in Boston in 2012. 4 Tiffany Circle women ran that year on the team. And since then, we're in our 10th year. So over 9 years, we've raised $3 million for our region's Red Cross. It's been just a great experience. For me, I'm a runner, and I've run with the team 4 times. So it's just, it's all the stories that come out of the runners. And, you know, we had a teammate last year, a runner that house burned down when she was 12, and the Red Cross was there. So just wonderful connections to the mission. And female veterans, again, New Jersey does a lot of work in the trauma center. And these women, you know, not only trauma from war, but sexual abuse, unfortunately, that still goes on in the military. And the Tiffany Circle women go in and they have socials, like they bring a chef in, they have pizza night, they do jewelry making. In the past, they took them to a mall and they shopped around the holidays. And you know, all this is helping them to recover, as well as having talks about what they went through. And the services to the armed forces, there's so much that the American Red Cross does. And I just want to highlight, since Jill is here tonight, that the New York board and the Tiffany Circle adopted a base in Kuwait, and they send military gift bags. And we are actually having a board meeting soon and looking at adopting a base too. The veteran care kits, many regions do this. We have many veterans hospitals here in Massachusetts, and Tiffany Circle members, when we could get together in person, we did a social, and we had some cocktails, and we bought or donated personal care products for when our veterans are in the hospitals for long-term care. And then we put them in gift bags and then deliver them to the hospitals. Another favorite of mine is the Pillowcase Project, started many years ago. Walt Disney was a sponsor of this initially. So Tiffany Circles members get trained to go into third to fifth graders in schools. And they train them on, what do you do in a fire? So you get a pillowcase and they write on the outside of the pillowcase things that should be in it in case there is a fire in our home, which goes right into the Sound the Alarm program, which is also a national program. And it's installation of fire detectors in at-risk homes. It's a huge program. It's a lot of fun to volunteer. To share quickly a story, my first home I went into in Western Mass was a 3rd floor walk up. I was a team of 3, somebody's installing, I was doing the knocking on the door, letting us in, and giving, going around and saying, where's your escape plan? So we walked up, this woman, a single mom, 3 kids, 2 in diapers, and we went into her kitchen and the smoke alarm was like disengaged. And we asked her why, and she said every time she boiled water, it went off. So she took it off. So we told her where, and we put one in her kitchen that would save her. And where's the escape plan? Like, how do you get out of here? You're on the 3rd floor. Very rewarding program. And I'll just share a data point that Massachusetts last year, 2020, had the very first year in the whole history of fire here where no kids died. Usually kids and older people die in fires. Kids hide in the closet, under the bed. And with this training between us and the fire department, they've learned that you need an escape plan. It's a wonderful program. Next slide, please. So in my time with the Red Cross, I've learned so much, not only currently, but what we did in the past, 100 years of the Red Cross, more than 100 years now. And one very interesting area is restoring family links. In Massachusetts, we have one of the largest call centers in the whole country, which a lot of people don't know about, and I didn't know about. So if a military's family needs to get in touch with someone that's serving, say in Afghanistan, and the baby's going to be delivered, we try to get them home and we connect them with the family. It's just a wonderful program. But I'm going to go back in time and share a story with you right now. This is from the Newark, New Jersey Evening News, January 14th, 1928. And the caption of the article was called, "Little Sisters Meet for the First Time at Ship." So there was a usual happy crowd of friends and relatives on dock to meet the President Roosevelt when she docked this morning. No one noticed a quiet little girl of 12 clasping tightly in one hand a bag of cookies and in the other a woolen cap and a picture of an 8-year-old sister she had never seen. Martha Miller had lived with her grandparents in Czechoslovakia since the death of her father and her mother in this country, and was coming all alone from Europe to meet and live with her sister Carmen and her great uncle and aunt. Her sister Carmen could hardly contain herself and kept tugging at the hand of the Red Cross worker who had brought her to the landing. And she was saying, "I wonder what she'll look like. Does she look like her picture? Maybe I won't be glad to see her." And then down the gangplank came Martha, a tiny little thing, hidden in a heavy brown woolen coat and a brilliant right tan. Bits of a red and brown woolen dress were visible, and she clutched tightly at a large leather handbag. "Martha," cried Carmen. Two little girls embraced, and the shore-bound passengers, eager to get through the customs lines, paused for a moment and smiled at the reunion. On the way to Newark, Martha, very silent thus far, and who had climbed into the automobile with a proper sense of awe, began to chatter so fast in her native tongue to her sister and uncle that the Red Cross workers who had brought about the reunion were forced to sit silently and think about their good fortune, having brought the sisters together. It was more than a year and a half ago that word was received by the local Red Cross from national headquarters that money was needed to place Martha Miller in a home in Czechoslovakia. Martha and Carmen's father, Frank Miller, was among those that died on the steamer sunk by a German mine on a trip between New York and Tampa in 1918. And shortly after Frank was killed, Martha was born February 22nd, 1919. And 2 years later, their mother died. So Carmen was put under the guardianship of her great uncle in New Jersey, and Martha was sent back to her grandparents in Czechoslovakia. That grandparents got ill and they were feeble, and without the efforts of the local Czechoslovakian Red Cross and the local branch of the Newark, New Jersey, the reunion of these two sisters might not have come about. Through the efforts of Mrs. Mary Lynch and Mrs. Mary Tideman, they were volunteers with the Newark Red Cross. Legal details were adjusted and money was raised for Martha's passage. Carmen and Martha lived close together for the rest of their lives, marrying and raising children. Next slide, please. Carmen was my grandmother, and I never heard this story until 2014, well after she passed, which was also 5 years after I became a Tiffany Circle member. It's just another reason I support the mission of the American Red Cross. And I know that my grandmother and my aunt are very proud of the volunteer work that I do with this great organization. And this is a picture my cousin shared with me. The top middle is, the left is Carmen, the little baby is Martha, my Aunt Martha, their mother. To the right of that is Frank, their father. The bottom middle picture, two to the left, is my Aunt Martha and my grandmother when 1965. And I found out that bottom left is my Aunt Martha, who served in the Navy, and she was a baker for about 4 years, serving in the Navy. So if she stayed in Czechoslovakia, she would never have had this life of being brought up with her sisters. So just a wonderful reminder of what the Red Cross has done in the past. And so Jill and I want to thank you for your time. We, of course, love sharing, Tiffany Circle and the support we have of not only friendships that are made through Tiffany Circle nationally and internationally, but just the joy of locally too, and the missions that we support. And now we're back to Joy.
Amazing stories, ladies. Thank you so much for your incredible personal commitment. What a impactful story. So interesting. And I do appreciate the work that you each commit to our mission. It means so much, Jill and Karen, so thank you. We also want to thank you all for joining us at our Tiffany Circle virtual speaker event. We are excited to have the opportunity to start a Tiffany Circle in the Southeastern Pennsylvania region. Women internationally, nationally, and across the Northeast Division have made such an amazing impact for the Red Cross mission to prevent and alleviate human suffering. We can't wait to see what the Southeastern Pennsylvania Tiffany Circle will do for the people the Red Cross serves locally in our region. If you are interested in learning more, please reach out to Julianne Odie at 267-623-7728. Her email is julianne.odie@redcross.org, and it's also pictured here on your screen if you are watching. We hope you will join us for our future Spring 2021 Speaker Series events listed on the screen now. The next one is March 17th. Our volunteer services, Be the You in Volunteer. The topics and dates are noted here. Thank you again for your time and have a great evening. Good night.